and welcome to Season 2, Episode 7 of the AusCannaPodcast. I'm your host, Christina McMullen, and today I'm excited to take you on the road with me to Brisbane, where I had the privilege of touring the Australian Natural Therapeutics Group's state-of-the-art facility. For this private tour, I had the pleasure of teaming up with ANTG's production manager, Adam Carvalho, whose expertise offered me an in-depth behind-the-scenes look at their operations. Before we dive in, a quick reminder, keep sending in your rapid-fire questions for a chance to win an AusCanna sticker pack. So, without further ado, let's jump into my conversation with Adam and explore what makes ANTG's approach so unique. All right, you ready, Adam?
Yeah.
So we're going to start with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Here we go. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Best advice you'd give your younger self?
Never give up.
What's the best part of your morning routine?
Probably making breakfast.
Most interesting packaging design you've worked with?
Probably a pre-roll container from back in California. It was like 4 boxes to get to the pre-rolls. Yeah. So there's the outer one with the all the like the actual label and the artwork.
Yeah.
And there's an internal one that had like a child safety mechanism that you had to squeeze. And then you open that one, and there's another little tiny cardboard box that you would open, and it had the 4 pre-rolls inside of it.
It's like those Russian dolls that you keep opening and they get smaller.
It felt like that. I was like, there's not going to be anything inside of here.
Would you rather have a time machine or a teleportation device?
Teleportation device.
One word to describe your leadership style.
Just be approachable, I think, is the number one for me. Be approachable, be kind, and be understanding of everyone. Everyone has something going on. We all do. So I think it's important to not look past that and not be too hard on someone when you don't know what kind of day they've been having.
I like that. Favorite ANTG flower to work with?
Favorite ANTG flower would probably have to be Rocky.
What's a song that always gets you pumped up?
Waterfalls by TLC.
Yeah, that's your go-to song?
My go-to.
I love it. I do. I love it. Okay, so sadly, I don't have a listener submitted question for this one. So my teenage son was like, don't worry, Mom, I got you. So this is coming from my teenage son. You ready?
Yeah.
Would you rather fight 10 duck-sized kangaroos or 1 kangaroo-sized duck?
Oh, that's actually a tougher question. I'd have to go against the kangaroo-sized duck.
Really?
Yeah, just because kangaroos they're crazy. Imagine 10 little ones coming at you at the same time. That'd be a lot. I don't know if I can do that.
See where you're going, because I would have gone the other way.
Ducks don't they've got the feathers and they've got their feet, but they don't have arms and stuff to hold on to you.
Legs to really
kick at you hard. So I'd say the 1 kangaroo-sized duck.
I like it. That's I see your thought process on it for sure. I do. Like I said, I would have gone the other way, but now that you've explained it, I'm like, oh no, it seems so obvious. That's definitely the way to go. Something you're looking forward to next year.
Next year, I'm looking forward to some of the new products we have behind the scenes that we're working on here. Excited to have some of those come out and see the response that we get from, I think, the market.
What's one thing you always carry with you at work?
I always wear this necklace. So I wear my necklace every day. It was given to me by by my grandfather, and like when I was younger, he was my best friend. So yeah, I've been wearing it. I always have it on me at work.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever found on the farm?
The weirdest thing I've ever found on the farm. Probably just because our environment is so like airtight, like you can't really get in there. And it wasn't even here, and it wasn't necessarily in the room, but just how it even got into like the gowning room where everybody gets gowned. There's a lizard in there, but like that's probably the craziest thing. And everyone was like, how did you get here?
I was going to say sneaky little bathtub. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's probably, I don't know. Haven't found that many weird things.
Last question. Least favorite garden chore?
Least favorite garden chore? I'd probably just say checks, like daily checks. Yeah. Just because I'm more hands-on. So I love like the de-leafing aspect. I find all of that calming. Where I find like just the simple daily checks being more of a chore, I think, for me than anything else.
Do you have a home garden?
No, not.
No?
I did it back in California, not in Australia.
Like not cannabis, but like your own home.
Oh, of course.
Like, yeah? What would be your least favorite chore about working in that garden?
Probably, even though I do like it to an extent, probably watering, just because I have so many plants at home.
Time consuming?
It's just, it takes me so long to get to all of them properly. So yeah, I would say the watering. Yeah.
That's a struggle.
It's always satisfying when it's over, but yeah, because it's all hand watering and I have such a big yard, it does take a long time.
You got to commit to it kind of thing. And you're like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. My least favorite thing to do in the garden is I've got finger lines.
Okay.
I love them, but I hate pruning them. I hate moving them. I hate touching them. They poke me every time, and I curse them under my hate them. But I'm addicted to the fruit that they give me, so it's like this love-hate relationship with them.
That's awesome. I've been wanting to try finger lines.
You've never had a finger line?
I've had them, but like tried growing them at home. I've never
They're super
had
easy.
any plants. Yeah.
They're super. People will tell you they're complicated, but if you can grow cannabis, you can grow finger lines for sure.
Awesome.
So, Adam, for the listeners who don't know anything about you, give us a brief introduction.
So my name is Adam Carvalho. I am now with ANTG here in Australia. I've been with the company for almost 7 years. Started in California, operations over there. I think my background's mostly hospitality and cannabis, so those two spaces I've worked in a lot. I grew up in Northern California, like in wine country, kind of Sonoma County. And then, most of my working career was up there, but also San Francisco, which is where I started with this company. And then, once California operations were kind of slowing down, and a few of us were asked if we'd ever be interested in coming out and working out here in Australia, and I kind of jumped at it. I love traveling and seeing new places. Australia was always on my bucket list. Was meant to be 6 months, and here I am about 2.5 years later. So, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm happy I made that decision.
I was going to say, how did you make the transition from hospitality into cannabis? I mean, I have a hospitality background for sure. And it's a lot of people, like dealing with people and managing expectations and things like that. But how did you parlay those skills into the cannabis industry?
I think a lot of the skills that I took over were management. So I just started from my first job ever. When I was still in high school, I started just as a cashier. I moved into from like a little like kiosk in it was in a casino actually, and it was like a little by the slice like kiosk. Yep. And that was my first job. And then I moved to the actual restaurant, which was also in the casino. It's like a 200-seat Italian restaurant. It's called Tony's, and it's actually some of the most popular pizza in San Francisco is Tony's Pizza Napolitana, And he, I worked with him for many, many years, going from cashier, and then ended up being the general manager of one of the restaurants in San Francisco.
I love that. You literally started from mopping the floors to running the place.
Yeah, so kind of like worked my way up there. I always had it in the background, worked in the cannabis space, both personally and also with friends who were already in the industry. So I kind of like my entire, ever since I was probably like just getting into high school really, or even before then, kind of like working on, parents' little farms and stuff like that. Obviously back in California, it's legal to grow like a certain amount of plants in your backyard. And you can even grow plants for like other people as well. So kind of like just got into small, nitty and gritty farms and working that way, all the way up until meeting a friend who had a legal farm up in right when it first became legal. This is back when it was still medical.
Yep.
And then working on a farm up in Humboldt County for a little while. I really loved just working with the plants. And then I found a space for me. I felt like the most, back when I really started, was I was very interested how so many other farms, and then this farm that I finally started working at did not overlook the drying side of things, where I felt like that was always something that everything post-harvest, people really kind of tried to rush and get done quick as possible to get their products out. And I always saw that as something that I wanted to focus on and kind of hone my craft on. So I kind of really focused on post-harvest, just learning the best conditions for drying and curing, all of that. And then, I was I was loving that job, but just because I'd always done the restaurant industry, I was, again, looking for something different and new. Yep. And I had a friend who knew about a job opening for this company back in California. And it was a hard decision, but I kind of just decided to jump on it and just say, you know what, that'd be an awesome industry to get into. And I have such a passion for this plant and I've seen so much of how much it can help people. Even kids with CBD and stuff like that I've seen with my own eyes, that kind of really wanted me to be a part of this industry. I think that's why I decided to jump into it, was just how much I saw it helping people. And I just wanted to be a part of that. So I jumped on the opportunity, and I've been in the cannabis industry ever since.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta jump out of that comfort zone because, it's cliche, but it's true. That's where your growth happens. That's where you discover new things and new passions and whatnot. And then you take your skills that you've learned and you parlay them into something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like it. So, to circle back a little, what was it like working up in Humboldt County? Because that's your little Emerald Triangle. Yep. That's some rich culture there and history there. What was it like?
It was awesome, especially the people, just how knowledgeable I won't mention his name, but the guy that I worked with for a really long time, he had been growing up in Humboldt County for like years, decades really, him and then his father as well. So I kind of got to go through them and I think that was like before then I had really only worked on small farms, and that's the first place that I'd really worked before. And it was more of like a summer job. It wasn't something I was always doing. But I loved working with the plants, everything from de-leafing to watering. There's just something so calm and relaxing about being with the plants and working with them. And then, again, I really enjoyed everything post-harvest as well. There were some people that hated trimming that I would be with, and I always loved it, hard on the hands and some other things. Yeah, but you get where your thumbs can't really move for a while. It's like all cramped up.
Yeah, I had a friend that was on, green market days in Vancouver, and he was on a cutting crew, and you always knew when it was cutting time because you would see him and he'd have like a little gimpy hand, and he'd be like, "You okay, dude?" And I love it, man. It's so much fun. I love it. But yeah, his hand would like literally lock from holding the scissors so much.
Yeah. But no, I it was a really cool experience. Just not just them, but he obviously have other people over from other farms. We'd all hang out in the back and make dinner and all of that stuff. And it's a really cool crew of people, and everybody up there in Humboldt County for the most part is really nice. Yeah, and again, that's like the first place where I really worked with like plants at a large scale, almost like, and they're all were outdoor plants, like 8-foot plants, just massive plants. So it was kind of eye-opening to me. And then seeing again, he grew a lot of CBD for a friend actually, which is really the main reason I wanted to work with cannabis. Is he worked with a friend up in Oregon who had a kid and he couldn't find, nothing was working, and his kid was 5 years old. There's actually a little docu-series on Apple TV or Apple Movies about him. Yeah, it was called Waldo on Weed. And he,
that sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, he was about 4 or 5 years old. He got diagnosed with brain cancer. He had tumors in his brain, and they were not small enough to operate on. And nothing seemed to be working, chemo, radiation. And he was having so many seizures a day. The doctor basically said, if he was going to keep having this many seizures, his brain's just not going to operate the same after a while. And so, he kind of his dad kind of went out of the way to try to source CBD any way he could, because it wasn't available on the medical market for kids back then in California. And so he went to a buddy of mine that I worked on his farm, and my buddy grew a bunch of CBD one summer, decided not to grow like a certain part of his crop. And he decided to run CBD plants, and he made just the old school like Rick Simpson oil with those CBD plants, and they started administering in very small doses of the CBD to Waldo, and it really improved his quality of life. I mean, it dropped his seizures per day down dramatically to almost not even every day he was having seizures. And made his whole, like the whole brain cancer, a lot more manageable. Actually, from what I remember, it actually it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure it ended up somewhat slightly shrinking tumors in the brain that the dad had nothing else he could say as to what it was, because he was already doing the chemo and radiation. So the dad really did credit it to the CBD. And just after seeing that in person and seeing videos of Waldo and like how much better he was doing, I was like, wow, this is something I want to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. In conversations with people, I don't believe cannabis is a be-all, end-all cure for things. I don't believe that at all. But I do believe, beyond any reasonable doubt, it absolutely enhances quality of life for people. There's no, I don't doubt that for 1 second. And so for me, a lot of times when I have conversations with people who, still subscribe to that whole reefer madness thing, I reference things like that, in the sense that, well, doesn't that individual deserve a little bit of quality of life, right? And so is it going to cure them? Maybe, maybe not. But without a doubt, you just said that poor child now has a little bit of quality of life. Yeah. And so to me, it's worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more on that.
Yeah, for sure. So you went from up north California, and then you started to make your way down south to Southern California, right? Because then you took the job with, it wasn't
in San Francisco,
It was Eve Farms, correct, is where kind of everything started. Yep. So talk to me about what it was like working there.
It was a lot of fun. We jumped right into it when I first started working there. It was full on. We did everything there from seed to sale, pretty much, in a little warehouse in San Francisco. And it was a lot of fun. I started there as the cure manager, and kind of helped with a lot of things, basically everything post-harvest. I kind of helped the operation manager with, and we worked on things kind of side by side on a lot of things, everything from that drying and curing stage all the way to trimming, packaging, labeling, all of that stuff. So kind of got my hands on all that, and that was the space I really did enjoy. Again, just because I always saw in so many companies, not all, but so many companies that was the most overlooked. Let's grow the best plants possible, and then let's take shortcuts on everything else.
Yeah.
And I always didn't. I never really cared for that part of it much. Where I felt like more care and time needed to be put into the post harvest. So I think we really dialed that in and made that a standard at E-Farms, especially down back in California. We went to quite a few High Times Cups. With E-Farms, we won quite a few awards. We won, it was like, I think we won it was either first or second place papaya flower, and then we also won a second place on solventless concentrates, so with some rosin. It was a very memorable experience. I was at two different High Times Cups, and then we also went to one Emerald Cup as well. Those were all fun. The High Times Cup, one of the ones that we won a lot of the awards at, that was actually in Santa Rosa, which is my hometown. So that was just really cool, like because the company was down in San Francisco, like everybody up in Santa Rosa, kind of my stomping grounds, like from when I was a kid, and doing it there at the Santa Rosa Fairgrounds was where the High Times Cup was held. Definitely a lot of memorable experiences with E-Farms, and all of them good.
So that's like checking something off the life's to-do list that you didn't even know was on the list.
It was awesome. Yeah. Getting to kind of stay, we all got a big like share house, so we stayed at over the weekend, and it was definitely a memorable weekend. But I think just the entire journey in California was memorable, just in the fact of kind of where we started when I first got there 6.5 years ago now, probably around there. And then just up until a few 2 or 3 years ago now. It was a very memorable experience, and had a lot of fun with the people there. We had a great crew, and again, we got a lot done in a short amount of time. Came out with some awesome products, and it was so much fun. I learned a lot during that.
Yeah. It sounds very much like hospitality family.
Yeah.
Very much the same type of vibe where, you're working together for a common goal, keeping weird hours, talking weird lingo that only other people within your little circle will understand. 100%. But like you're in a shared house, living the dream, right?
Yeah.
It is, as it sounds. And, when I stop and I think about it, it's a natural to go from hospitality into the cannabis industry.
Yeah, it almost is. I feel like that's definitely where I got a lot of, I think the hospitality industry is such a good industry for people to start in. Just because you don't have a choice, but to even for young kids who, maybe are more independent and more keep to themselves. I think it's so good because it kind of will, you don't have a choice really, but to make friends, to talk with all your customers that come in, to have good rapport with those customers so that they come back. I just think it's such a good industry for anybody to start their working career in. And I think it's really just sets you up for success in whatever industry you choose to go in after.
I completely agree. Hospitality, you learn that, you learn how to take criticism.
Yep.
And show up the next day with a smile on like it never even happened.
100%.
And that is a skill to fine tune, right? For sure. Yeah. Hospitality. I look back on it, and it's some of the best experiences in my life come from hospitality but some of the most, I don't want to say horrific, that's being dramatic, but some of the worst experiences in my life also came from hospitality. So yeah, it is school of hard knocks, man. And you can take those skills almost into anything.
Yeah.
Anything. So how do you go from soapbox, we need to focus more on our post-harvest, to the actual buy-in from your team of, okay, you're no longer this crazy person lecturing me on your soapbox. I need to pay attention to this. Where did you notice the switch where your team was like actually buying into what you were trying to achieve?
Yeah, I think the team knew how important post-harvest was, but I think even some of them, when we all started first working together, had never just, a lot of them had more of a previous history with actually working with the plants, where I luckily enough definitely had my fair share of experience with the plants, but also my fair share of experiences with everything post-harvest. And I think it really is just mostly was just trying different things out, seeing how those different things worked out, especially in the drying process with different parameters or different cure times, different ways of curing, whether the product's sealed or not sealed. All of that, you could go on Reddit and read for hours, on all the different ways that people have figured out how to do things. And, I think it was fun to just do all those trial and errors ourselves, where that the errors aren't going to come out bad. You're still going to have a good product at the end of the day, but how can we get it to be almost perfect? I don't believe that there's perfect anywhere. There's always, you'll talk to, an old head up in Humboldt County, who's been curing cannabis for 10 years, 20, 30 years. And, they'll still tell you they're learning every day. So, again, it's a lot of that is just trial and error and just continuously to hone on your craft. And I think doing that there with all of them there and actually helping out a lot, especially during, whenever we were harvesting, especially back in the California days, we'd kind of have all hands on deck for the harvesting. They'd come up and help hang the plants as well. And then I think once we saw the final product from where we started versus towards the end of before I came out here, there was a dramatic improvement. It's absolutely not just credit to myself; it's credit to the whole team, really. Everybody kind of bouncing off ideas off of each other, and I think that's how you can figure out ways to do things and have those experiences with people where you're slowly, making the product better and better. How can we get better than we already have now? There's always someone who's got this idea that, I think at first too, a lot of people were maybe afraid to say certain things like, or bring up ideas. But I think once our team got together and we're all able to like spitball things off of each other, I think a lot of the best things we did, a lot of the best products we ever grew, dried, cured, you name it, trimmed, I think a lot of that comes from just, multiple people in the same room, all with a similar like project and idea in mind, and seeing how we can reach that target.
It's amazing what happens when you put like-minded people in a room that have a clear vision, but that it's the same vision. You've got this great product, but you all feel like a little tweak here, a little tweak there, and it could be just a bit better.
Yep.
Just a bit better, right? So, yeah, creative juices flowing in a room for sure.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about, so you leave eFarms and then you come over here to Australia. What was the biggest challenge coming here?
Oh, definitely just getting used to the fact that it's a GMP space here. That was exciting, but also a little nerve-wracking for me, just with the background of coming from the medical and even recreational space over in California. I think just because there's not a whole lot of places in the States in general that are doing GMP, just because you can't federally export or even from state to state. So there's not a whole lot of people. Some people just have it just to be ready for when it comes. But I think getting used to the GMP space, how everything needs to be, I'd say the biggest challenge is just all the paperwork. How much paperwork for everything. How you want to change a light in a room, change control. You want to
even all that little tiny stuff you got to
everything you got to go through all the right pathways and justify everything, do the risk assessments. I think learning that side again was pretty nerve-wracking for me just coming here. And then even now I'm still learning things in that space every day. But I think that was the most challenging, but it's also been the most rewarding. Just figuring it all out, making it happen, doing the paperwork, getting it done properly, sending deviations to quality and them saying, no, this is not good enough. You need to add this and this. And so I think just learning that part of the business here was definitely the most difficult. But again, now that it's all happening and I've been doing it for a couple of years now, it's also been becoming the most rewarding.
Yeah. So you would say you're the compliance guy now?
Oh, I don't know about that. No. We have a whole compliance team here that really, they're an amazing group and they really know their stuff as far as compliance in the pharmaceutical industry. So again, I'm learning stuff from them every day. But yeah, just the need to have that compliance I think it's important in the industry here at the moment. And I think, it really, at the end of the day, is just to make sure that quality product is what's leaving and getting into the customer's hands.
Talk to me about, because there's two different facilities, right? You've got your Armidale facility and then the facility here in Brisbane. What are some of the challenges between the two different facilities? Because they're different for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Luckily I've been able to work at both. So I actually started in Armidale for the first year I was here. And then last August, not this year August, but the year before, came out to Brisbane. I'd say the main difference is, we both have a very symbiotic relationship, especially as far as quality goes and even product. We'll send product from site to site and trim that product up as necessary. We kind of help each other out in a lot of ways. I'd say the biggest difference between the two is really just growing styles. So we have a couple different growing styles. The spot in Armidale is greenhouses with supplemental lighting. Some of the bays have LEDs and HPSs, or most of them are just all LEDs and HPSs. And then they have a really big mom and veg room up there that's really cool. Their greenhouses are a lot larger. Like, I think just one of their 4 greenhouses is almost as big as our warehouses in general.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, they're definitely a lot larger scale as far as cultivation goes. Whereas we're more so, I guess you could say, boutique in the fact that we're growing the same strains, but we are here in Brisbane. It's just smaller cultivation, 4 smaller cultivation rooms. And it's all indoor, all HPS lighting. There's definitely plans to, get other lighting and such as well. I think the biggest difference is probably just the growing styles and learning. Obviously, plants grow differently. The same plant will grow differently in different environments. So I think we've worked through most of the humps, as you will, at the beginning stages. So I think we've worked through a lot of that, but I think just learning how to grow, for the cultivation team at least, learning how to grow those cultivars that we already knew how to grow in Armidale and how to grow them here and come out the same, if not better. Yeah.
What would be the biggest challenge then to bring something that's been grown supplemental light, with your sunlight, greenhouse, whatever, and then completely indoors?
I think it's just you have different things, right? So you have the natural lighting, and then you have HPS and LED. So you're bringing out a lot of. I think the hardest part is at first was making sure the test results are, because it's the same product and it's all going to the same customer. So I think ideally we wanted to make sure that it was, if not similar, then identical to what we're growing in Armadale. And yeah, learning how to do that and the different regimens of feed that they need and all of that under the HPS lighting, but to come out with similar, if not the same, which we've gotten to basically the same test results between both sites. Again, with as with different lightings, you'll find different amounts of cannabinoids, different amounts of terpenes come out in those products. So I think changing our style a little bit here and there to get to where we are now, which is basically having same test results from regardless of which facility we're growing in. That's
impressive, though, to be able to have similar, if not identical, test results for sure. While we were in it was the drying room, we started talking about the fact that you guys export to Europe.
Yep.
So how do you manage regulations between the Australian market and then the export to the European market?
It's a great question. So it has definitely been from trial and error. I think learning. I think we've come to a conclusion where the easiest way around it is to not separate one batch to two different places, where half of that batch goes to the Australian market and half of the batch goes to the European market, where we're now doing it batch by batch. It makes it a lot more manageable for us, mostly just in the regards of for the Australian market, we want the best product out as we can. And I think a main player in that, as far as, any complaints or anything like that, would be our moisture content in our flowers. And we had a difficult time. We have a lot easier time now, where we're just kind of changing our drying regimen. And I think the reason because of that is, again, having the same batch, splitting it and going to two different places, because for the European market, they actually, which to us, here, we would like to have a higher moisture content of flower, but they won't take our products in Europe unless it's below 10% moisture. Yeah, so they won't even take the product. So I think that's been the biggest learning curve, is just making sure that we can have our moisture content high enough where we can, where we're happy for it to go on the market here in Australia from one batch, and then maybe the next batch is going to Germany. So we will know that batch we need to dry out a little bit more than we normally would, to make sure that it's meeting their specifications that they request. Again, all of that will hopefully change in the future, just with talking with them and other things like that. But for now, we do a lot of export to Germany, and they will not accept the batch if it's above 10%. It has to be 10% or lower. So they prefer it. They prefer that we actually send them product somewhere around the 7% range, because then they think that they have come to the conclusion that if it's 7% on our end, then it tests around 8 or 9% on their end, about 1% or 2% higher, and then they are still happy and able to put that on the market there. So I think that's the hardest thing. It's a lot easier now with us having two facilities, being able to just have one batch go to one place. It was a lot more difficult when it was just the one facility in Armadale. So I think just learning to do things like that and how to operate ways where we can have standardized products, but that each different market wants, and be able to change our parameters and how we are doing things to try to make everybody happy.
I'm making everybody happy. Yeah. It's hard to do.
Oh, it's
hard.
Probably impossible, but we're trying.
Just to talk about import-export for a little bit, what are your thoughts on the whole Canada and how they import exorbitant amounts of cannabis here? How do you compete with that? How does that make you feel? Because I say it all the time. I wholeheartedly believe that the Australian government should be supporting Australian grown product, that they should be helping to facilitate that in any way that they possibly can. I don't understand why, again, I say it all the time, mangoes, macadamias, beef. We're so good at agriculture here.
Yeah.
Why isn't the government really backing our cannabis growers? Why, it's got to be frustrating to you to know that Canada is importing, my stats might be wrong, but I think I read it was something like 30 tons or something like that last year. How do you compete with that?
It definitely hasn't always been easy. I think just trying to be tried and true and to really establish, and we try to put on our we put on our labels and try to be as apparent as possible that it's especially everything on our black label is everything Australian grown and grown by us here in Australia. And I think that is so important, and not enough people are doing it. But I think each their own. For all the different cultivators out there, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to. Sometimes it's easier to get started that way, just importing product. I think my main thing is I just wish that all the different companies were more transparent about the product that they have and where they're getting it from, rather than, I feel like so many are trying to hide the fact that they're importing product. I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing in the world, as long as you are transparent about that and let your customers know, especially if you're doing both. You can have the two different labels, to allow yourself to have that difference. Which is what we've kind of established too. We have our all Australian grown, which is our black label, and then we have our imported products, none of which is from Canada, by the way, but all imported products that we have in our Global Selects brand. So we've tried to be as transparent as possible, but also have both possibilities to the customers, especially if they want to try stuff from different parts of the world.
I just had my mind blown, and now I feel like such a freaking idiot, because now it totally makes sense. The black label is all stuff that's grown here, and Global Selects, quote, quote, it's your stuff from around the world.
Yeah.
And the light, I just made the connection, and I feel like a jackass. I can't believe I just made, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
I think it's frustrating, from a patient perspective, in the sense that, you get your COAs from Canada, and then it gets here, and there's no new COA with it. There's no new information with it. And so a lot of times you're looking at a COA that was done 12 months ago, and you're just now looking at the product. And I don't care how fabulously taken care of that product was. There's no way what I'm looking at is that COA. Yeah. There's just no way.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue. And that's something that we make sure we do on our end, is getting our own COAs through a third-party testing facility. We try to make sure that everything is tested on our end here, just obviously to verify against the results from if it is from somewhere else. And as far as we obviously do full suite chemical and full suite micro. Just to make sure that we're happy and that the product is as it's supposed to be. So I think that's something that we try to do on that end, at least for us, to make sure that the customer has a more recent test result that they can look at and be sure that and be comfortable knowing that this is, if not exactly what I have now, then pretty darn close.
Yeah, I don't expect it to be like, oh, this test was done 2 weeks ago and I'm holding the product in my hand. That's crazy ambitious. But, within 3 months, maybe I'd be happy. Like I said, it's really frustrating when you're looking at something that's, 6 months, 12 months. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was, but there was somebody, it was like 2 years ago. And I'm like, why would you even bother to post something from 2 years ago? There is no way that COA is reflective of what I am looking at right now. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Not possible.
I think that's the hard part for me too. Part of the hard part about as a cannabis user coming from California and then coming here, I think that's something that was really interesting for me, because in California you have to be transparent about that stuff. Whereas here, I feel like if people have a year-old COA, or hopefully not 2-year-old COA, then they kind of shy away from having that information. I mean, they'll still have it for you to look at. But yeah, whereas in California, I mean, if someone had, which would happen, but people would have maybe 2-year-old outdoor that they're still trying to get rid of, but they would at least market it that way and say, hey, this product is 2 years old. It's at a discounted price.
See, I own it. I think a lot of us, if you owned it and was just like, yeah, this is 2 years old, but it still needs a happy home, right?
Exactly.
I think some of us would probably just roll with that and be like, okay, well, they owned it. Moving on, right?
Yeah.
I say some of us, a lot of us would be like, okay, cool, right?
Yeah, at least we know what
at least we know
what we have.
Yeah, you've managed my expectation, if you will, right? Yeah, for sure. It's yeah, like I said, it is. It's frustrating when you're looking at old paperwork, and then it does blow me away though that companies here aren't required to retest the product. I think that we talk about GMP and all these regulations and all of this, but yet we just accept this test that they've done somewhere else, right? And that we don't redo it here. To me, that seems wild.
Yeah, which is crazy for me, and I don't even know how, to be honest, in the GMP space. I'm not sure how other places are able to get around that. Yeah, just because it is like we, as far as here, we cannot release a product unless we have our own internal COA as well. It's just part of what we have to do as far as our quality team and what they want to see before we release a product, to know that that it is what it says. So to know that like that's not always happening is kind of crazy to me, just because we've always done that on our end.
Have you ever had a COA come back that you like looked at and you're like, oh, where did this come from? Like what happened here?
We've had COAs that come back and they might be slightly lower or or even higher in some cases than what the original COA from that supplier was saying. But again, I think that's part of the importance of testing it here as well, especially from companies that you're getting product from globally in different parts of the world. Because it has to obviously match your label claim as well. So we can't just always believe, and we've found this out from testing the product on our own, where we can't always just go off of the supplier COA, because the supplier COA is also oftentimes not, again, like we're speaking about, it's not always exact and to date. And sometimes, again, we'll have a label claim in mind for, say, THC, and then we'll test a product and it may become higher than we were expecting or lower than we're expecting. So we have to change that label claim accordingly to fit within that variance that is allowed.
What's the variance for somebody who doesn't know?
I believe it's like 5 to 10%. Yeah. Okay. So you can have a little bit of leeway either way. I believe it's 5% either way. Yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely part of the interesting part about definitely why we test everything on our end, just to make sure that what we're putting out there, what we're saying our product is, it actually is. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some exciting things that you guys are working on for next year?
A bunch of new products that will be coming. Not sure how much I can share, but what I can share is that we do have a lot of new products coming. Some different pathways. I think that people that the industry maybe hasn't figured out that yet, but or how to get through GMP. But we are working very hard to get those things out to market and to get those different products out there. Yeah, we do have a lot of fun things going on behind the scenes. Can't share too much. I wish I could, but yeah, there are a lot of fun projects that we're working on, and hopefully can be potentially even the first in some of those spaces as far as a new product that other companies don't have yet. Others that maybe other companies have had, but again, we're trying to make sure get everything through the quality side, and then also make sure that that we're happy with that product and that we're comfortable that this is as good as we can get right now. So yeah, I think working for some products that aren't on the Australian market, I think to the average customer out in Australia, just be patient and keep your eyes open and ears open. And I think we're not the only ones that are be coming out with fun products here in the near future, but I think that everybody's working on it. Yeah, we have a lot of R&D going on in multiple different areas at the moment.
I enjoyed my entire tour, but R&D was where it was at.
Yeah,
it seems like a fun.
Oh, the R&D team is they absolutely crush it. Yeah, we have a great R&D crew here, and they're always making sure that the products that we can, first of all, get it to be GMP. Some products easier to say than done, easier said than done on certain products, but trying to make sure that everything is GMP, that what we say is in that product is actually in that product. So if we're specifying that a certain amount of product is in it, being able to deliver that on a regular basis and not just, we want to always have a compliant product. And I think with some different products that are on the market, that's been tough to be able to nail that down and actually hone in on that. And the R&D crew does an amazing job, both on all the projects that haven't come out yet and all the past projects that they've worked on that are a reality now. Vapes being one of those. It's a newer launch for us is our vape line, and hopefully we can add to that arsenal in the near future.
Yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the entire tour, but I was like, ooh, I like this department.
Yeah,
fun stuff going on in here. Lots of fun stuff. Yeah. Kind of on the same note, what would you say is, because the year is slowly starting to come to an end here, what would be the one thing that you and your team are most proud of?
I think just probably just our growth in general. How much we've grown, but able to become. I think when you grow, you start to become less and less consistent. Whereas I think we're kind of priding ourselves on, as we grow, we're becoming more and more consistent. We're trying to especially hone in lately and really make sure that our products are as quality as we can get them before they leave the door. Yeah, and making sure that, whatever pharmacies pick up our product, that they're storing our products correctly as well, not just what we do on our end. So I think a lot of that has been difficult. It definitely has been easy, and for sure we have room for improvement, as I think everybody does. But yeah, I think that's what we really pride ourselves on the most, is like we're growing, but we're not going backward. We're trying to still get better every day as we grow as well, which is definitely hasn't been easy, but I think we're all doing a great job at that as far as our company as a whole. Yeah, I think you can kind of bet that our products are only going to get better from here, and that our quality is never going to decrease from where it's at now. It should only get better.
I like that perspective.
Yeah,
I do. I like that a lot, for sure. So, Adam, as we come to the end, we've covered a lot of topics. We really have. But I always ask the guest to leave the listener with one nugget of information or one call to action something you want to leave those listeners with?
Oh boy. I think just like, especially from the company side, I think for all the listeners out there, any feedback that you have, good or bad, on any company, not just ours, but I think anything that you have, it's important to try to let either the pharmacist or that company know, because anything that can be improved upon, I think not just as a company, but even just myself, even on a personal level, you always want to have those things that that you can improve yourself on. And so I think just to the customer base, just be honest, what do you want? How do you feel about the products, and where can we improve? And those improvements will come, or those products will hopefully come as well once we can get those through our R&D team and other things like that. But I think if I could leave, and this is not just company wise, but just personally wise, I think I would leave everyone with be honest,
I like the fact that your hospitality experience is coming through. You're like, give me that constructive criticism, because
I love
when I
it.
know better, I do better.
Yep.
And it's true,
No,
right?
absolutely.
It's very true. And it is. It's about fostering those relationships. And yeah, again, when you know better, you do better, and we all grow together.
Yep.
Well, Adam, thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me and showing me around.
Yeah,
It was a blast. I have to
for having me. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
And that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Adam as much as I did. Before we go, I want to give a special shout out to ANTG's R&D team for taking the time to answer all my questions, and to Helen and Michaela for organizing the wonderful ladies' lunch after the tour. Until we meet again, friends, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. And remember, supporting a friend's success will never fuck up yours. Real friends want to see you win.